Well, I can't fix it, so we'll just have to be awkward together. See, wait for you guys to come in. Now, the question is it the same chat or a new chat? I wasn't really planning on holding my phone like this. But good morning, everybody. Today is homecoming for my kids, so I don't have a ton of time, but I figured I would stop in, and I am sure that everyone is curious about Captain, who is still holding in there. You can see he's pants dance. That's the first time in about 3 weeks. Yesterday he started acting a bit more normal. I consulted a veterinarian on what to do for him, and he recommended some pretty high-powered medicated feed, and it seems to be working. The trick right now is getting Captain to eat it, because he's a very particular fish who's been eating the same thing for most of his life. So but he's hanging in there. He's still not right. I mean, he's 12 years old. I burst into tears this morning because I thought he was acting weird again, but he was just doing normal Oscar stuff. So we'll have to see. But so far, he's hanging in there. Anyway, I just thought we would take this opportunity to look around the fish room a bit. I really wish I knew how to switch this to the other way. I'm not feeling very bright on this to me before. I know they just did a bunch of YouTube updates though, and whatever. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was an update on my blue-green algae. I was kind of surprised at how much controversy that video caused in the comments. A couple of you got kind of passionate. I think it's important to mention that no matter who you're watching or who keeps aquariums, there's never one way to do things. There's so much in the minutia of keeping aquariums, variations in chemistry, variations in decor, source water, hardscape, substrate, everything, that there is never a blanket answer or way to do things. It's very much your mileage will vary, your experience will vary. There are some basic guidelines, but I just think it's important that no one takes my word as gospel. I mean, I have almost 20 years of experience, but it's my experience. It's not the only way to do things. And it makes me nervous that people would think in absolutes. Very little in this world is done in absolutes. Thank you for the super chat, Corey Aquatics. So just keep that in mind when you guys are making decisions for your aquarium. Now, I do feel quite passionately that medications and chemicals are heavily overused as a shortcut for boosting immunity and good husbandry, but that certainly does not mean that there is never a time that those methods should be employed. I mean, right now I'm using antibiotics on Captain Crankypants. But again, I consulted a veterinarian, and I know that's not as easy as it should be for those of us that really care about the health and well-being of our aquariums. But it's getting easier. I can tell you 20 years ago, the only vet I really knew about were at some of the larger universities and institutions. And now, even in my own town, there are veterinarians that will consult on fish. So, you know, just keep that in mind. My phone's blowing up. I should have turned off the sounds. Anyway, I just wanted to go around and show you guys some of the stuff. We'll start with that 75-gallon birthday tank that I added that aqua clear to. As you can see in that lower left-hand corner, nothing's come back yet, but that doesn't mean it won't. I do find that normally with cyanobacteria, if it's going to take an aggressive hold, it's almost overnight that it comes back. A lot of people brought up that phosphates could be the issue, and that's true. I have noticed algae in a bunch of aquariums in the past couple weeks without any change to my maintenance or feeding. And because I have a well, it's possible that, you know, there's some minor differences in the chemistry of my source water, but seems like adding the flow to that side of the aquarium is doing the trick. So again, your mileage may vary, but this is working for me right now, and you can see all the fish are looking really good. I just can't wait for these guys to grow. I'm feeling impatient, but African cichlids aren't known for their speed of growth, especially ones from Lake Tanganyika. Some of the Parasiprochromis, like the one hanging out by the rock there, they're getting blue in their fins. None of them are as silver as they used to be, but you can certainly see why these guys get the moniker sardine cichlids. When they're little, they don't look like a whole lot, just little sardines. I'm very, very eager for you guys to see what this aquarium will look like when they mature. I'm recording vertically because for some reason YouTube won't let me go to landscape. And I can't figure out why. I tried leaving, I tried coming back in, and I figured vertically was better than nothing. I have very limited time today. I have to help my kids get ready for homecoming. So, what would you guys like to see in the fish room today? I wanted to show you something. Look at the back wall of this aquarium. Do you guys see the moss that has grown onto the glass? I didn't even put moss in this aquarium, and somehow it's growing up the back wall. Well, Joey is much smarter than me with this stuff. I am not at all gifted when it comes to anything to do with computers or technology. I am much more a hands-on person. I really do wish I could get this to sit in my little tripod, though. Maybe that'll do. My hands are shaky. I've had like a pot and a half of coffee this morning. So what tanks do you guys want to see? Do you guys want to see some updates on the critters I brought in from the tubs? How are the baby endleys? They're doing good. I actually need to feed them. See, there's a couple. They're growing pretty well. If you guys remember, they were like the size of a pinky, and now they're about the size of, oh, I don't know. They're about hot dog diameter, so they're getting there. They think they're going to be fed. Nano shrimp tank update. I'm not sure which one you mean. I have a whole lot. My baby endleys are farmed, and I'm actually really disappointed in the quality. I bought them from what is said to be a super reputable source, and a lot of them, like you can see on that one there, have deformed fins from overcrowding when they kept them at the wholesaler. I've considered making a video about that, but I'm trying to give them the chance to grow out, and I mean, they're healthy fish. They just have some fin imperfections. But it's pretty disappointing to me, the quality that was sold. I mean, I saw it from the day I got them, but I was hoping that they would straighten out as they grow, but they haven't. Here are some of the wild endlers that I brought in from outside. Captain Crankypants is hanging in there. He was doing his Crankypants dance a few minutes ago. I'm trying not to stress him out too much. I took a look at him before, so when this is uploaded, you can go take a look. I don't want to throw the camera in his face and make him feel like he has to perform. These are the least killies. Let's see if we can find some. A lot of them are up in the weeds. They're doing really well. Well, I don't know that Captain is out of the woods. We have to be realistic, guys. He's 12 years old. That is not a young fish by any means, but he does seem to be hanging in there. These are the Rhizius wowerae, the Daisy's rice fish. You can see there's 80 bajillion. The weather here today is very cold, very rainy, and very irritating. A couple days ago, it was still beautiful. Here's some baby rainbows. Yeah, I'm still working with coolies. And here are baby gourami. And a random endler and some rosy loaches. You can see a big fat female rosy loach coming to the front there. Then we have blue shrimp in this aquarium. I sold, oh, nope, there's a couple yellows left in there. I sold most of them. And then the cherry shrimp. Let's take a look over here. Here are the white clouds. See how many fry are in there? All those little blue specks. I'm actually really pleased that it doesn't seem like the adults are predating on the babies. I was kind of worried. And I may just pull those. I need to do a few more water changes on this to get them back to tap before I can pull the adults to toss into the 150. But soon. You can see how beautiful the finnage is on some of these adults. They're really incredible. These are the lemon white clouds, which, you know, they were sold to us as Thacbiensis, but they're obviously not. They look more like a Mycogema, which is a Vietnamese white cloud. What else did I have outside? I'm trying to think. I brought in so many fish, I can't remember what's what. Take a quick look at the 150. These guys always beg for food. Let me grab some food. You guys can see my mess and chaos on this side. See, there's Captain. Now, Captain was at a C shape at the top of the aquarium, unable to swim, unable to eat, and really, I was very much sure that he was a goner. But he's rallying, so we'll have to see. You can see the yellowfin shiners here are all fired up for spawning. I fed them frozen foods yesterday. Bert, we're fine. I never have a problem with questioning my motives, and I actually said at the beginning of this video that I really hope that people don't take my word as the only way things work. Because of all the variables that go into aquarium keeping, it's absolutely rare that there are any absolutes when it comes to things. Now, there are basic guidelines and, you know, things that are known to work, but it's never as simple as yes or no or cut and dry. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the daily. I tell you, I'm getting kind of tired. It's exhausting. I think I'll probably do it up until I leave for Aquatic Experience, and then we'll have to see what happens when I get back. I don't usually film at those events. It's just too chaotic, and I feel like a dork. And it's not much about me doing information at those things, so we'll have to see. These guys, though. Aren't they gorgeous? You see those Brachydaniochaethet, those orange fin danios. They look amazing. There's actually some new fry in here, too. You can see, I don't know if you'll be able to see right there. It's a little fry. Over here, there's a couple fry. See the Rhinogobius looking sexy as all get out. Sparkly gold native fish. No, they didn't do well. I think my fish room was too warm. But yeah, I could watch this tank all day. Have I thought of keeping any turtles, newts, crayfish, or crabs? I do keep turtles outdoors. Crayfish are illegal in my state. Crabs I've worked with, and newts, I think my fish room's just too warm. Shiners are doing great. Whoops. Would I consider keeping other Bashir species other than Endlecheri? Absolutely. I am just a bit limited on space. I mean, I know you guys, to you it looks like I have a ton of space down here, but I could probably fill 5 fish rooms this size with the various species I would like to keep. They think they're going to be fed. We're tormenting them. So in order to have other species, I mean, I can't just toss other species in here because these guys are opportunistic ambush predators. And they will absolutely eat anything that they can fit in their mouth. And since their mouth is the biggest part on them. And these guys are about the diameter of my wrist. I'm not sure how well that translates on camera, but they're as big around as, you know, my lower arm. It's just not that easy to grow out fish that are big enough to go in there. It's probably going to take me 2 or 3 years to grow out the babies enough to put in here. So we'll have to see. You know, now I have thought that when some of my other older fish age out, I may turn one of these 75s on the bottom to an upper jaw tank, or a 120, pick up a 4x2x2 or something like that to work with Polypterus delhesi or things like that. But we'll have to see. You know, is what it is. We'll feed the Shellys. I haven't spied on them for a while. I wish I could focus this for you guys. There it goes. It's also, I can hardly see what it's filming because the chat's across it. So you guys see the guys with the yellow tails? That's what a lot of the fish, 14 of the fish in my birthday tank will look like. So can you imagine a big school of those? It's going to be absolutely incredible. I really can't wait. But I mean, it took these guys close to a year to look like that. So we'll have to see. And there's some, I don't know if, I know I won't be able to get the camera to focus on it, but back in the back by the sponge filter where that big shell is, there's some brand new baby fry. I see about a dozen of them, but again, with this being a cell phone, I can't really focus on it. Pretty soon I'm going to have to harvest some of these multis to throw into a sail tank. Linda, that's exactly why I know the species, or genus and species for the most part. Common names are often interchangeable and often vary greatly depending on exporter. And it's just an unreliable method to know your fish. So, you know, especially since I have been in the business for quite a while, it's important for me to know the actual name. I just saw a really beautiful bumblebee. Oh, look at that longfin. Longfin, just standard bristlenose. There's little bumblebee shrimp swimming up through the top. These are the new, let's see if I can find any to show you guys. In the sponge filter there, pinto shrimp in the back corner. Pretty soon I'll be adding a bunch of decor to this aquarium in order to let those guys breed out. But I like to keep a close eye on everything. Oh, you know what I should feed is these honeycomb cats. These guys took a couple weeks before they really settled in. But once they do, they are like frenetic flurries of activity. So we'll let the food start to drop down. If you guys follow me on Instagram, my Endleys are about, well, one of them is 12 years old. A couple of them are 11. They're about 21 inches long. So let's wait and see. You can see there's Amanos coming to life. And there's some action. The thing with these wood cats is they are exceptionally gorgeous, but you don't see them a whole lot. However, I feel like when you do, it's so worth it. And there's another species that I like to work with that are called the purple oil cats, or Centromochilus reticulatus, that I should be getting soon. And those, I'll hold food in my hand and they just sit in your hand and eat, and they do this little like circular movement through the water column as they're eating. Sort of reminds me of little Tasmanian devils. Really freaking cool fish. The sponge filters are from SwissTropicals.com. Stefan Tanner makes them. These guys would hold still. You could see them better, but that's part of the fun of it. They just don't. And there's quite a few in here, so we'll see start to come out of the woodwork and just, you know, do this whirly gig throughout the entire water column. There's a couple over there that are being goofy. I just think they're so cute. Now these guys are kind of cool too. I've told you in videos, and I'll do a, well actually I think I already did a species spotlight on them. They utilize internal fertilization. So the male has a modified fin that he uses for internal fertilization, and then the female lays the eggs, and the eggs are kind of large. And they almost remind me of frog eggs. Pardon me. It's ragweed season here. And I am allergic to ragweed. It's been miserable. Down here we have the retirement community. I need to actually catch those panda barbs. I'm giving them to a buddy of mine in New York. Wonder if I... Nope. This thing sucks. YouTube. But look at the colors on those guys. I'm not sure if the green iridescence is coming through on this or not. Hi, Michael. So I think I'm going to break this tank down soon and sell or move a lot of these fish. I'd like to set up the red Odessa barbs to breed to show you guys. But 75 gallons is some pretty precious real estate in the fish room. So I'm thinking I may shuffle things around a bit down here. What volume of tank do I recommend for the multis? I really like a 20 long. The reality is they can fit in much smaller aquariums. But I find that things go best. Where's my coffee? Go best when you give them a bit dilution and space. I had issues when I kept them in smaller aquariums. That they were so preoccupied with defending their territories that their breeding really slowed. So the more space you give them, I feel like the better breeding result you get. Yeah, and it's all about floor space. So you don't need a tall tank with them. Just a long, low tank is great. Captain is getting there. He was doing his crank. I'll show you guys real quick. I don't want to put the camera in his face because I don't want to upset him. Right now, he's a little bit angry that I'm down here. It's not, you know, normally scheduled broadcast time. But he's hanging in there. He is on... I consulted a vet, and he's on some pretty heavy-duty medication. But, I mean, again, the reality is he's 12 years old. So... it's only a matter of time, but I mean, I love that fish. It's not going to be the same down here when he goes. I mean, he's almost as old as my kids. But he's stubborn enough that he seems to be hanging on for a bit longer anyway. Do Boraris brigitei and Mara hybridization? The reality with the Boraris is that they're very difficult to breed. So while there would be a risk of hybridization, I sincerely doubt it's a legitimate issue. There's also some people that think that Mara are the females of the brigitei. I disagree. I've bred the brigitei and none of them look like Mara. But... you know, so theoretically, yes, it's an issue. Is it really an issue? I sincerely doubt that there would be the quantity of breeding that would make it an issue. April, Captain's old. We're not sure. The vet actually thinks he probably has a tumor in his swim bladder, which wouldn't be treatable. And I didn't want to drive him to the vet to have them aspirate it. So we're just doing general broad spectrum treatment to see if it helps. And you know, we're on week 3 of him not being right, and he's improving, but you know, he'll be better for a few days and then he could be dead. We'll have to wait and see. Old age is not the most glamorous of things, but he does look better the past couple days than he has in a few weeks. I haven't kept bucktooth tetras, but I would really like to. Again, I need more tanks. Yeah, Captain's comfort is really what's most important to me too. And the thing that concerned me the most is he wasn't interested in food for a few days there. And if you've ever had an Oscar, you know that that's not typical. However, he is eating again as of today. So, and upright, and he was doing his Crankypants dance. He's going through all his range of colors. He's been a nice olive drab color, which is sort of his unhappy coloration today. He's got his striping, and the tail spot, or the eye spot on his tail is really bright. So, you know, we'll see. I have all my fingers and toes crossed for him, and I'm doing absolutely everything I can to be supportive in his health. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of old fish. You know, it just sort of hit me in the past year how old some of my fish are. You know, I have those neons that moved here with us, let's see, over 13 years ago or something. Thank you, Dopes, 72 Dubs, for a cup of coffee with no sugar. That's right. That's what I got. So how many of you are going to Aquatic Experience? I am going to be there. I have a bunch of meetings with a couple of companies that I want to talk about a few things. Yeah, the same ones that are 12 years old, Catherine. They're in with those red bristlenose. Aquatic Experience is next weekend at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. I will be there. I'm getting there Friday. I'll be there all day Saturday. I'm not sure how long I'll stay on Sunday. My husband's doing quite well. He's back to work. He's still in physical therapy 3 days a week. We find out in a couple weeks if he needs an additional shoulder surgery. It's a long road. You know, when you break your body that badly in so many places, it just takes time. My daughter's doing really well. I'm getting there. My knee is... I was at my kid's homecoming football game last night, and I learned that my knee replacement, the metal in my joint, physically gets quite cold when sitting outside in the cold. So that'll be interesting this winter. It was very uncomfortable. Still having difficulty carrying things up and down stairs, which I think will just take time. And I have a lot of pain, which is unfortunate. But we're getting back to a good schedule around here. I'm able to do a little bit more every day, and I just can't rush it. There's nothing like more than to be back in action. But I can't rush it, or I'll pay for it in the long run. Yeah, I mean, I have metal. I had metal in that leg previous to this, but nothing of the size of a total joint replacement. Have I considered an honorary tattoo of the captain or any of my fish? I have like $400 in gift certificates to get tattooed. And I may be doing that soon. I've been accumulating gift certificates for years and just haven't had time to go. I haven't had any new tattoos and, well, since I got my crowns on my shoulders, which was 2.5 years ago. So I'm hoping to go soon. I miss my species spotlights too, but the reality is I have to get in new species if I'm going to do new spotlights. I can't create them without the fish. I mean, I can talk about fish all day, but it's certainly nicer to be able to see the fish we're talking about. Ever made a video of my tattoos? No, and I don't plan to. Thank you, Bob. Am I going to cross the river to New York City at all? I have a really good friend that lives in Sunnyside. I may try and go to his place to look on his tanks. We'll have to see. The problem with doing a story time about tattoos is that I don't really care what you all think about my tattoos. And I don't know that I really want to open up my comments section to get the opinions of the internet. My tattoos are mine. And while I appreciate that people are curious about them, I'm not really sure that I want to hear everybody's opinions about my choices. It has absolutely nothing to do with education, tropical fish, or the things that I've made a priority on my channel. Someone asked about doing the water change. How much dechlorinator depends on if you are treating the water before you add it to the aquarium or if you're adding it to the aquarium directly. If you are pre-treating your water in buckets or whatever, you dose the water conditioner for the volume of the bucket to re-add. If you're doing it to your aquarium, you dose for the total volume of the aquarium. The majority of dechlorinators, you can overdose quite significantly without any issues. Yeah, Jose, I think you live only a couple of blocks from my buddy. He's on 41st. I think you're right around there too. Maybe when I hit 100,000 subscribers, if that ever happens, I'll get a special tattoo for that. Get a little YouTube button somewhere or something silly. I still need quite a bit of filler on some of my arms. How long in a day do I spend doing fish things? Depends on the day, but on average, I'm down here by 8 a.m. and I go upstairs at 3. That doesn't mean I stop doing things at 3. It just means I'm done down here because that's when my kids get home. So on average, 8 hours a day down in the fish room, and then whatever I do outside, upstairs, whatever. My air plants are doing good, although my cats climb up the wall to eat them, so I had to take one of them down and put it in my windowsill. Freaking cats. I love them, but you know, they enjoy air plants. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to move in some of my tropical succulents. My Odessa barbs are doing great. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, I think. They're right over there. They're one of the species I want to pool to set up a dedicated breeding program. They're a fish that I think is super underrated. They often don't look like a whole lot in the store when they're smaller. But when you let them settle in, boy oh boy do they get sexy. Look at the size of some of those bristlenose in there. But yeah, so I'll give you guys a few more minutes and then I have to go do mom stuff. Homecoming. I just didn't want to skip out on you guys without doing some sort of video with this new rhythm we've had of daily. The bikers are doing great. You can see, let's see, I don't know if you can see or not, the big boys are behind me and the babies are doing great. There's one planking right there. So everybody's doing well. I always get lost in this aquarium too, that South American Nano. If you just sit here and watch, the green neons are so bright. I haven't found Tropica cause any issues with ammonia, but your mileage may vary. It's never a bad idea to add cycled media in order to reduce the risk of any, or even just adding something like polyfilter in order to absorb any trace amounts. That's one thing that I really like to do, especially in smaller aquariums. Thank you for the super chat. How do you get rid of pest snails? Cut back your feeding, increase your maintenance, and you can try and manually remove as many as you see. The reality with pest snails is they can only really reproduce if they have a good food. That can be unhealthy plants, it can be algae, it can be excess fish food, it can be excess mulm, detritus, or whatever that build up in your substrate or on your decor. So if you remove those things, they generally stop breeding, and the manual removal of the larger snails will also cut down on the breeding because they have to be of a certain size in order to reproduce. Tips on keeping clean bottom tanks: gravel vac them. I gravel vac every single day. You can also set it up, like if you are using a canister or a power head, you can set it up so that all the mung, the dirt, is blown to one corner to make it easy to remove. Or a lot of people like to use sumps. What do I think about Anubias barteri striped compared to other varieties? It's fine. I mean, it's one of those fads that go through. You know, once there's a lot of it, then it won't be as neat as people think it is now. Least favorite daily task involved with fish keeping: sterilizing equipment. It is such a time suck. And even though I haven't gotten any imported fish in over 10 months, I still sterilize all my equipment each week just to be on the safe side. Simply because I've gotten in so many thousands of fish over the years. You know, you never know what's lying latent, so... You know, that and vacuuming. I make a horrific mess down here. Like if I showed you my carpets right now down here, whew, it is a mess. And I hate vacuuming on a good day. So vacuuming the floor down here is kind of a pain. But you know, all the fish type stuff I really like. Do I think metal garage type shelving could be used for a tank wrap? Absolutely. In fact, when I was at, I think it was Home Depot a few weeks ago, they had some really nice looking shelves. One thing I will say about some of those multi-tiered garage shelving is that some of them can be a bit top heavy. So you want to take great care to make sure they're really level and that you stack them properly. I would only do smaller tanks on the top. I know that I have used them before and they made me very nervous. I mean, I suppose you could also anchor them to a stud, but I'm not sure that would really stop anything if they decided to go over. Yeah, and check the weight capacity. And a lot of them only call for very thin plywood in the bottom, and I always upgrade that to make sure there's good support for the rim of the tanks. Fish work is better than housework. I don't mind cleaning. Weld the shelves in place. Well, my racks, my floor is so dirty right now, but I'll expose myself here to you guys. So mine, I have shimmed. These are the older ones. The newer ones have leveling feet, and they're done in 4-foot sections so that they're pretty darn stable. And as you can see, I have my husband welded cross pieces for me so that I can put any size aquarium on there. And again, I have concrete floors, so I don't have to worry as much about the weight on my flooring. But if you were to be putting a lot of tanks like this, you would want to make sure that the floor has adequate support to take that amount of weight in one place as well. There's a lot of things to think about, and I am not an engineer, so you would definitely want to do your research on that. Any advice for overfiltering a 20-gallon long without crazy flow? HOB. I mean, if you did a canister filter, you could do a spray bar, which would diffuse things quite a bit. And if you made your own spray bar, depending on the size of the holes you put into the spray bar, it can really alter the amount of flow. So it can really help. I mean, I don't use HOBs that much. I mean, you guys know I stuck one on here, and it's doing the trick. Not because they're not good filters, just because, you know, they require a bit more maintenance than canisters. Canisters are more my preference. But you can, and there's also a lot more versatility to canisters as far as, you know, modifying them. Oh, look, I picked up these little laser quarries for my buddy that I'm visiting in New York. I wish it would focus. They are so stinking cute. Let's see if we go this way. You guys see them? No, there's no blue-green algae. It hasn't come back. Tips on supplementing Otosinkless. I like to use leaf litter. I also like to make sure that they're going... Oh, hi, Gary. Thank you. For Otos, I like to make sure that they're going into a really well mature tank that has a ton of biofilm. And biofilm is that like slippery stuff that grows on surfaces. And the longer your tank is running, the more of it there is. And I find that they really do best in an aquarium that is at least several months old. Repashy Soylent Green can work. I find that with mine, once they're really well established in an aquarium, they'll eat almost anything. Initially, when I import them and I'm getting in 1,000 at a time, I put them in a relatively shallow tank so that they can get up to the surface. And I actually sprinkle powdered Repashy Soylent Green on the surfaces so they can just basically sit and vibrate and eat. Now, that's extremely messy and takes a lot of water changes, but it really has gotten rid of a lot of the fragility that they're known for in the ones that I import. In my maintenance aquariums, I just make sure that I add some leaf litter. Will Amanos eat BBA? Yes, but not if there's anything that's easier to eat. So the trick with Amanos and what I like to do in my fish room is to maintain them in their own aquarium. I keep a 20 long going. Well, we'll go around and look. Guess it would help if I turn the camera. So this is my Amano aquarium, and I keep anywhere from 20 to 200 at a time. And I don't feed this aquarium. And what I do is whenever I have dirty plants, I grab the dirty plants and I drop them in there. And because they're not being supplement fish foods or things that are easier or tastier to eat, they go nuts for algae. But the reality is if there's something that's tastier or easier to eat, they're not going to eat an algae, especially like staghorn or BBA, that it has sort of a coarser texture. They're going to eat whatever's easiest. Probably about 5 minutes, guys. Get those questions in here. I'll try and start doing these live streams again. You know, I get really anxious about them. I'm never sure what we're going to talk about. I don't know if I got your comment, Daniel. I try and read them all, but some of them slip through the cracks. Can you trim the roots on a floating water spray? Sure. Aerial roots show up when the plant is like sort of searching for nutrients, so there's no reason you can't trim them. So if I have to put Otos in a mature tank, how do you quarantine them? That's a really smart question. Normally, I mean, all of my tanks are mature. My fish room's ancient. But at home, you could move a piece of mature decor, something like a piece of driftwood from your display to give them something to graze on. You know, or add the leaf litter in there. But when you're trying to house them for maintenance, they go in an older tank. You know, or if you're starting out, you know, well, gosh, that's a tricky question. There's not a good answer. How do I handle a hair algae? I use Amanos, or I manually remove it with a toothbrush or a chopstick. Favorite kind of Episto? I like a lot of the wild Epistos. I don't have one particular type that's my favorite. Why don't I own any goldfish? My fish room is too warm for them to thrive. I would be accelerating their lifespan and increasing their waste and just not giving them their best goldfish life. And I really don't like to house things that aren't suitable for the environment I can provide. Best source of calcium for a mystery snail. The easiest thing to do is use a substrate that will harden things up, increase that carbonate hardness, which they'll graze on those surfaces. You can use cuttlebone. I find it to be relatively inefficient. You can also buy calcium pills and create your own diets to add it that way. But the best thing for mystery snails is a slightly cooler temperature and a really buffered water capacity. Yeah, the leaking aquarium is that one. It's doing just fine. I really lucked out. I was like, oh man, I mean, I know I could have moved some tubs down here, but then trying to figure out lids to house those fish. I mean, because those fish won't physically fit in the 75 gallons. Can Cory cats handle gravel? Yeah, they can, but it needs to be a smooth gravel. You should be able to roll it around in your fingers, and it shouldn't be at all uncomfortable. The other thing with gravel, well, and here's something else I should mention with cory cats. There's a lot of different kinds of cory cats. If you look at the actual structure of their face, some of them have a shorter snout, some of them have a longer snout. Some cories will bury themselves up to their eyeballs as part of a normal feeding strategy. Those you would absolutely want to keep on sand. The shorter snout varieties are the ones that feed on the surface of the substrate. Those can do quite well on gravel, but you need to keep it really clean. I've kept cories on gravel many a times. Again, the shorter snouted varieties, not the ones that really dig in to eat. Thanks for stopping by, that turtle girl. Can you feed frozen foods daily? Sure. Just got to keep your tank clean. You don't need to filter summer tubs, especially if you have decent volume. I did not filter my 300 gallon or my 80 gallons this year. You know, a lot of it has to do with dilution versus stocking density and plant quantity. The more plants you have, the better. Otherwise, you can just run an air pump to a sponge filter. But I should probably get going here. I really want to thank you guys for stopping by and chatting with me. Oh, thank you for your service, SFCQ. I just drop them in, Miss Stephen Brown. I don't melt it first. Captain's doing his happy dance over there. You guys have no idea how good that makes me feel. Anyway, I need to finish my maintenance down here so that I can help my kids get ready for their dance. Again, sorry for the vertical orientation. I'm going to try and figure out how to fix that for next time. And I'll schedule the next one a little bit more in advance. This is sort of on a whim thing. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in my next video.